Okay, are you still there?
I'm here.
We're live. Okay, we're gonna start. I'm gonna start the audio in
Okay.
three, in two, and one. Welcome or welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. This evening, we are joined by someone who I should have known more about, but apparently I don't really know much about this person, but they have quite a story to tell, and they are doing very interesting work for the blindness community. Their name is Sammy SweetSpirit. As I was saying before, I can tell by the way you spell Sweet Spirit that that is actually not your real last name. But if Sweet Spirit was your real last name, that would be really cool. But I do have one question that will help us to set forth the rest of the conversation, which you probably already know, which is who is Sammy Sweet Spirit? Go from the top, and your hour starts now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sammy SweetSpirit, and Sweet Spirit was a name that was given to me by one of my best friends who is a spiritual minister, and he gave me the name. And at first, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, the whole Sweet Spirit thing, because it kind of sounded like a name from the Native Americans, but it grew on me and I loved it. And when I was putting out my first album, because I'm a singer songwriter as well, when I was putting out my first album, I loved the name so much that I used it as my name. So, of course, Sammy is a nickname for Samantha. I don't like to be called Samantha, it's too formal. So I always go by Sammy. So, Sammy Sweet Spirit, that's how the name came to be. Um, I'm a singer songwriter and author. I've been blind since birth. And like I said, I have an album out on the streaming services. It's called Something for Everyone. And then I have a book out on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, Apple Books. Um, and that's called Look at It This Way: The Blind Leading the Sighted. So I'll kind of get into that in a minute here. But I was born blind. I was born about 4 months early, premature. So um, my mom was 23 and a half weeks pregnant when I was born, and she thought she had an infection. So something just didn't feel right. So she went to the doctor and they said, we're going to have to transport you because the hospital at that time was about 20 minutes away or so from where she lived. And so they said, we're going to have to transport you. And they put her in the ambulance, and I came out in the ambulance. So on my birth certificate, it says that I was born in the parking lot of the hospital. And I was so small. I weighed 1 pound and 6 ounces at birth. And so the doctors had to rush me up the stairs to, they were even afraid to use the elevator because they were afraid I was going to, not even make it. And so they rushed me up the stairs and, um, you couldn't touch me because I would bleed. um, that's how underdeveloped I was. And so yeah, I was in the hospital for 3.5 months, or no, 3 months, and so I could develop. And uh, luckily, the only thing that happened was my retinas detached. So there's a condition called ROP, retinopathy of prematurity, um, and that's how I became blind. And luckily, nothing else happened. I could have been a lot worse. I wasn't expected to make it through the night, but it was 35 years ago, and so I'm here now. And what a what a way to start life off. So um and I don't take that for granted. I'm here for a reason. I was listening to one of your episodes, actually. One of the people you were talking to was very much into the spirituality, and I am as well. And I believe that we're all here for a reason and a purpose. And so anyway, so yeah, I was a normal kid. um I like to, I was very much into music and singing, and I had a bunch of instruments, and I loved to pretend. And I was a very active kid. I did a lot of things. I did horseback riding and snow skiing and Girl Scouts and, church functions and um, just different things growing up. And so yeah, so then I discovered, love of music and singing, and I did a lot of talent shows in school and choir and things like that. And so um yeah, I released an album in 2019 called Something for Everyone, and I was, lucky enough to have friends and colleagues working on it with me. There was quite a few other blind musicians that have consulted with me and worked with me with the mixing and mastering and different things, and so it you know turned out really well. And then in 2022, I released my book called Look at It This Way: The Blind Leading the Sighted. And why I decided to write a book about blindness was because the world doesn't know about blindness, and it's getting better, but the world doesn't, the sighted world that we live in doesn't understand how blind people live life, because it's not talked about on a mainstream level. And so rather than getting upset about that, because there was many upsetting moments, I would try and find a job, and it was very difficult. I had my phone stolen, taken out of my hand on a train, um, and that caused I was on the news for that. And so I just felt like, I wanted to do something about this. I rather than complain about what sighted people don't understand, I wanted to see what I could do to help educate. And so I wrote a book, and um, I was really fortunate enough to work with a world-renowned spiritual author and teacher, Neale Donald Walsch. Um, I was working on the manuscript, and I'm a huge Neale Donald Walsch fan, and so I would quote him all throughout the book. And one of my friends said, "Why don't you just reach out to him and see what could happen? Worst thing he could do is, say, why don't you ask him if he has any advice or thoughts or suggestions for you? Worst thing he could do is say no." So I wrote him, and he called me the next day, and we talked for about an hour. And he said, "I really like what you're doing. I really like your concept." And then he kind of became like another editor for me, and we worked on. So it took me from start to finish. It took me 2 years to write the book, and the first year was me on my own, and then the next year was me and Neale working together on it. And it's just a blessing to get to work. And for those who don't know who he is, he wrote the Conversations with God series. And they say never meet your heroes. Well, I had a great experience working with mine, and becoming a friend of his. And so yeah, so the book is it focuses a lot on connection and how we can connect better as human beings, because really we're all one. We're all connected. we're all, I mean, we may not be the same, because we all have different facets about ourselves and different experiences and circumstances, but you know we are all one, we are all connected to each other. And so that's the main point. And to kind of explain, you know to the sighted world, that as blind people we do things in a different way, but we don't get different results. And I kind of go into that and explain the things that seem quote unquote different, and why that is. And then to kind of, wrap it all up and say, we're really not that different from you. We just may do things differently. So and I focus a lot on the social aspect of living in a visual world. And um because what people don't realize is, because of the fear that when someone is talking to, or experiencing someone that they feel like is different from them, there's a lot of fear there. And it's to the point where blind people aren't even getting spoken to, at events. Or I just had posted something on social media, and someone in the blind community had said, I don't think you guys realize that when I go to a party, I don't even get spoken to. And it's people, and I'm there with people that I know from work, and I don't even get spoken to. So it's a thing. It's a thing. And so this is why I'm doing it. I'm uh, Society views blind people as either superhuman or subhuman, and I know I know we're all familiar with that, when what that means. you know we're viewed as superhuman, like we have superpowers because we can hear better and do all these things that nobody else can do. And that's not true. It's Even though that's a nice thought, and it may feel good to hear that, and to have someone say that to you, but it's very isolating, because they're elevating us so high and making us not human, and like, saying that we're not, we can't relate to you because you can do all these amazing things. And then there's the flip side. Then we're subhuman. We can't relate to you because you're not human, because you are incapable because you're blind. And then they've turned it into a mental thing, um a mental disability, and it's not. And there may be some people, some blind individuals who have a mental disability too, but I'm talking about, in general, um blindness is not a mental disability, and people have made it into one. And it's to the point where people don't even have a conversation with us because they don't think we can have one. So um and in the book I also tell my story too. I talk about personal experiences that I've gone through in life. And um so it's I'm really proud of it. I feel like I'm a big thinker. I go big or go home. So I really feel like this book could change the world, and could help a lot of people, sighted and blind. Um, and I'm doing all I can to get this message out, especially the superhuman, subhuman stuff. And so what I've been doing is trying to get into major media. And so, and I've done book signings and things like that. And, been on various podcasts such as this one, and talked about this with people. And and, had some really eye-opening conversations about this, because that's, to me, that's what it's going to take to have a conversation. And, social media and online marketing is great, but it's missing that conversation component that is so needed for understanding, to bridge the gap. And so, right now, I have a PR campaign, and I'm trying to raise money because I have a PR firm that is willing to assist me in getting the book into major media. And so I have a GoFundMe set up, and I'm really fortunate because it has raised, as of this recording, it has raised $2,857, and it's growing. And so I'm really, really thankful. And so, if any of you uh, would like to donate, I would really appreciate it. And it's not just for me, it's for the blind community. You can go to my website, sammysweetspirit.com. And Sammy is SAMMY, and then, Sweet Spirit, all one word, .com. There's a donate button there, or donate heading. And I would really appreciate any help that you can give. And so, yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've been really blessed. And as far as, like I said, I did an album in 2019, and I also have a YouTube channel with a bunch of songs that I've released over the years online. And I have, homages, as I like to call them, to Aaliyah and Prince and the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. I'm very eclectic musically, and it's just been really fun. And I'm really, really grateful to be doing this. And I didn't realize I was supposed to talk for an hour. I thought it was going to be like a conversation, but I'm really, really thankful to be here.
Uh-huh. Well, in case you didn't know, my name is Aaron Richmond. I'm Aaron's Opinion. I support your message. That was an incredible start to an incredible conversation for sure. I think it says a lot about you. It says a lot about your spirit. It says a lot about your personality. Just simply the fact of being born in a parking lot, that really, when you stop and think about that from a spiritual perspective, that shows me that you were ready to go before you were ready to go.
Yep. I mean, I'm convinced that, because I'm a very spiritual person. So I know that I've lived many lives before this.
Oh, sure.
And I'm convinced that because I believe that we all decide to come here, and we kind of map everything out. And so I'm convinced that I didn't want to come back. Yeah. And so I had a long talk with God, and we had to work this out. And once we did, I said,
I believe you. By the way, I believe you. I completely believe you, by the way. Yeah.
And so I basically said, if I'm gonna come here, if I'm gonna do this again, let's do it. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna waste my time. Let's go. Because I am very impatient too. So yeah, I the preemie thing was not an accident.
Right. You kind of caused it. You kind of
right. I'm like, let's go. If we're gonna do this, let's go.
Yeah.
So
funny thing about the spirituality. So I have a specific playlist here at Aaron's Opinion called PAR, Philosophy and Religion, and I talk about these things in depth. I'll tell you right up front. I'm a Jewish guy who loves God, and in case you were wondering, no, I don't remember. Before being born. I don't have the memories, right. But it's interesting, very compelling that you mentioned the fact that you've alluded to the fact that you have the memory. And I completely agree with you, 100%. A lot of
Well, I don't know if
people,
it's the memory. I don't really have
but
the
it's the feel. You
memory.
have a feeling. You kind of
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
feeling that you
Right.
kind of remember that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot more and more people are speaking up on YouTube about their quote unquote memories before,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, well, it sounds like you should. It sounds like once you join my WhatsApp group, you should talk to that Michael Raymond, our great friend Michael Raymonost,
Yeah,
about.
that's who I was
Yeah,
listening to.
I could tell, I could tell.
Yeah, he did a
And
great job.
he's an incredible. He is. Let me tell you something about Michael Raymonost. He is an incredible friend. He has
Oh, good.
had, as you remember, a very hard life, but
Mm-hmm.
he's
Mm-hmm.
also a beautiful person. I really mean it.
Oh,
Um,
of
quite
course.
frankly, I would wonder how he survived this long, but I don't wonder that much. It was God. God
Right.
helped. God got him here. He didn't, quite frankly, I know he's a great guy, but so is God. And God helped him out in more ways than one. God got him to where he is. Anyway, though,
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to circle back to is I think it says a lot about your personality, that you were kind of born ready to go, you know.
Yep.
I remember that name. I'm very extremely impressed that you actually got to meet and work with that Donald to whom you mentioned before.
Neale Donald Walsh. Yeah.
Him, he's
Mm-hmm.
very famous in the community. I know of the guy. I've never interviewed him, but I know who you're talking about. Now I'm not
Right.
terribly familiar with the work, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's very well known. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it sounds like, it also sounds like, if I'm going to pin you down for anything here, it sounds like you're kind of all over the place too, because you got the spiritual stuff, you got the author stuff, you got the music stuff. You got like it's like a triangle with you. You got the spirituality end, you got the
Oh,
music.
I'm a motivational speaker and a life coach, and I mean I do I I
Right.
kind of dabble in a little bit of everything.
Pastry chef and everything. Right. But I'm actually really glad that you are a musician, because we have sitting in the audience, we do have a fellow musician sitting here in the audience. He probably saw who you were and recognized your name, because he's also a musician with his own channel.
Hmm.
Him, and I'll bring him on a little bit later to introduce himself. He
Okay.
and both he and his girlfriend have contributed an episode to Aaron's Opinion, and they again are two incredible friends. They are some amazing people. They truly are. The lady didn't join, but the guy Denny is sitting in the audience. So what I'm saying is I've interviewed a lot of musicians here at Aaron's Opinion, and we
Hmm.
have a lot of people who, quite frankly, we have a lot of people who can help you in the music world. And we also have a lot of people who want to get into the music business and also need networking within the music business. So hey, to add a new musician to Aaron's Opinion, this is great. You'll be in smart company, and you'll definitely have the people around you in your corner who are going to be able to help you get all the way into music, for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
So with your music, I'm trying to picture in my mind's ear. I'm trying to listen. Um, how would you, what's your flavor with your music? What is your music? What's the flavor?
So it's pop, but it's not just pop. It's pop with like a bunch of different styles mixed in. So, like I said, I'm a huge Beach Boys fan and a Prince fan and
Mm-hmm.
Aaliyah, and
Mm-hmm.
I love country.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I incorporate many different styles within it. So, for example, I have a song called "No Worries," and that song is an homage to the Beach Boys, and it's just singing about you know uh just throwing away your worries and trading
Mm-hmm.
your worries for a smile, and just trying to find the positive in a harsh world. And and I love harmony too. I'm a sucker
Mm-hmm.
for harmony, so I've always got like 3 4 5 part harmony, or sometimes more. So um in my songs, I've worked with other blind musicians who and my co-writer, who's my best friend, his name's Javon. He is huge into harmony too, so we're always doing songs with a ton of harmony in it. um and yeah, it's just kind of uplifting music, just to make people feel good. And then and it's also talking about life things, even if it's a negative thing like a heartbreak. It's gonna it we're I'm trying to tell tell you I can relate to you, and let's set each other free, and so the last track of my album is called Back
Mm-hmm.
to You, Back to Love. And that's where it's kind of like I'm sitting here talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking to everyone, and you know telling you that life is already hard enough. Let's make the best of it. And when we say make the best of it, literally make the best of it. Find whatever makes you happy, go after it, do it. Because just as if you picture something that you love, you are that love. You are love just as much as your whatever that thing is or that person is that you love. That's you too. So it's I really try to uplift and bring some positivity, because
Mm-hmm.
life's already hard enough. So
Absolutely. I'm pretty suspicious that you recognize the name tonight because he's typing in the chat about how pleased he is. I'm pretty sure he recognized you. Yeah. Yeah. It's very
probably.
interesting. More than likely, more than likely. I don't know. Do you know him? Do you know do you know Denny Lee Jackson?
I do not. um
Okay, wait, hold on. Do you know H Streets on YouTube?
no.
No.
I don't.
Really? Really? He's saying the name isn't familiar. He didn't know you. Well, then this was meant to be. Then this
Sure.
was meant to be then.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine, Danny. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah, yeah. Well, that is really fascinating. So, what can you tell me about how you discovered, how did you find your ability in the music world in the first place, Sammy? And how did you really start to, because I've spoken with Denny about it and several other people that are not here in the chat at the moment, but a lot of you musicians have been telling me that publishing music is actually a lot more steps and a lot more complicated than podcasting because you have to jump through more hoops. So how did you figure this all out and really hone your craft as a musician in the first place?
So when I so the first part was discovering singing. So like I said, when I was growing up, I was always in talent shows, and when
Mm-hmm.
did karaoke performances and performed
Mm-hmm.
weddings and funerals and different things. But uh the first time I discovered I could actually sing was in a third grade talent show.
Uh-huh.
I sang Let's Go to Vegas by Faith Hill. And I was just singing the song, because I love the song. So I was just singing it. And all of a sudden, I get this huge reaction. It's like, oh, okay. They like
Mm-hmm.
it. All right. And so, I just kept it up and took vocal lessons, and I have perfect pitch. It's kind of a gift and a curse.
Yeah, it
But
is. That's a
but
good
it
way of
helped me
describing it.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, so I then as far as writing my own songs,
Mm-hmm.
in 2009 I met the person who's now my best friend. I met him back then, and he was a songwriter. And he was like, have you ever, because
Exactly, Danny.
I was always singing covers and things, and he said, have you ever thought about writing your own original material? And I'm like, huh. Yeah, I've always wanted to, but so he kind of gave me the confidence to start doing it. We started working together on songs, and um, so then I would release songs online like SoundCloud and YouTube and different places, and I had a website for a while, and I would just put stuff up there, and then I thought, maybe I should go to these streaming services and make an album. And so the album took about a year to make. It was a very long process. Um, and you're right. There's a lot of steps involved in publishing music, and from writing the song to recording it to mixing and mastering, and then you know deciding on a distribution service, and then the album cover art and just all this stuff. So I went through DistroKid. That was what I used to distribute the album. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm really really glad I did it. And like I said, there's a lot of different styles and homages within the album, and it's called Something for Everyone. and it's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the um, streaming services. And you can also go to my website, sammysweetspirit.com, and check it out and get it there. And yeah, music has always been my first love. So it's
Yeah,
cool that
yeah.
you do have a lot of
Denny's
musicians.
saying that Denny uses a Muse, yeah, to his for his distribution. He's on a Muse, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot of these distribution companies, but it
Yep.
is similar to podcasting. You pick your distributor, you set up your art, you set up it's very similar,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
a little bit more. I think with the music, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more time consuming for sure, you know. So when you sit down, when you worked on your album for over a year, and I understand that because you have to choose songs that you really love and you have to choose your best work to go all the way onto an album. How do you, and I've asked many musicians, so how do you go through that process of actually figuring out what is the best song or what are the best songs to include?
Well, that was a process. I
Hmm.
mean, for me, it was what's the theme of the album? What do I want to say? What, and what songs are going to best say what I'm trying to say. Um, and, I was really lucky because I had a lot of people involved, so I could kind of, bounce ideas off of people. And we had a WhatsApp group going where everybody would give their thoughts and opinions on songs and mixes and things like that. And so it really was a team effort. Um, and yeah, some of the songs I would go and re-record, like because some of them were older releases, so I would go and update it and re-record it and maybe change the music around a little bit just to make it new and fresh and fun. And then some of the songs, I were picked especially for the album. And so it was really fun. And
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was
So
enjoyable.
yeah. And then then you kind of load all the songs in there, and then you upload the entire album, and then as several other people have told me, then it becomes public at midnight. A lot of these distributors with the music have a thing about that. It has to be public at 0 hours for some reason. Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, doesn't really make a lot of sense because actually, most people, when it's midnight, most people are asleep and are
Right.
actually not ready to listen to music. That's the worst time. If they're going to make it available at a certain time, it should be actually in the morning when people get up and they're going to
Yeah, I
work or they're leaving
agree.
the house. That would actually make more sense. But it is very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That's so. What are some of the messages that you have conveyed in some of your music? Do you think over this album and over the years? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just, like I said, just,
Mm-hmm.
uplifting positivity. Just we're all trying to get through life together. So, we're like, like I say in the book, we're all one, we're all connected, connection. So yeah, I mean, that's very important to me, especially, especially why I wrote the book, because, it's if we can, bridge the gap and create a space of understanding, then that replaces judgment, that replaces negativity. We can connect better and grow together and all of that. So, it's something I'm very passionate about. And, and I am, everyone wants to know if I'm going to get back to music because I've been so focused on this book stuff. But yes, I am planning on getting back to music. Um, I'm going to be moving back to California. That's where I'm originally from. And right now I've been living in Georgia, but I'm going to be moving back to my home state. And so once I get set up, I definitely am going to get back to the music again. Um, but you know, and the music, of course, like I said, is my first love. It's never let me down. But the book is such an important message too, and it's so needed right now in our world. And so that's why I'm really trying to really get it out there into the media, because there's been a lot of um, great leaps forward for the blind community and blindness awareness. There's a lot of Netflix shows out right now featuring blind characters and
I watched
blind
it.
actors
Yeah, I know what you're
and
talking about.
actresses.
That was a great series. Yeah, it was.
Well,
Hmm.
there's a few out, so it's good that they're doing that. But no, um, but the thing is they're still not talking about certain things that really need to be talked about, such as the superhuman subhuman thing and the connection,
Yeah.
and and trying to and especially the social aspect of blindness. And so that's and especially looking for a job, that was a huge thing for me and a lot of people in the community. And so I talked a lot about that in the book, and how I would show up to interviews, and the first question wouldn't be about me. It would be, well, how can you do this job? Like, how are you, and so then you have to educate them, and you have to explain about reasonable accommodations. And then they get nervous and they don't want to hire you because they feel like they have to, you're someone that has to be taken care of. And it's just a stigma that really needs to be addressed and talked about and understood. And so um it's very important. And you know it's
Hmm.
like I said, it's something I'm very, very passionate about, and I feel like we could
Absolutely.
go deeper with our exposure
Hmm.
and even like I talk about blindness portrayed in the media in the book too. And I mentioned Family Guy, and I love Family Guy, by the way. I'm not knocking that show in any way. I love Seth MacFarlane. I love Family Guy. But there was an episode where Peter went blind, and he was at the bar at the Drunken Clam, and the bar was on fire, and he didn't know the bar was on fire, and he unknowingly saved him and Horace, the bartender. And when they asked, well, how did you know that, and he's like, that freaking place was on fire, and like he didn't even. And it's like, come on, like that's just, of course we would know. The smell, the noise, the fire alarms, it's just, it's it's the unconscious uh ness that's going around that I'm trying to point out and say, look, we got to look at this. We really got to look at this and talk about it. So then, we can all, connect and as human beings. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm really
Yeah.
kind of, trying to get this out there.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Well, it's all wonderful. You're clearly in the right, and it's all a great idea. So let's go into the details of some of the stories of the book. Let's move from the
sure.
music and let's delve into some of these chapters of your book. So, what are some of these interesting stories that you share with us in your book?
um I talk a lot about my experience as a blind person, and as well as other people that I've, met through the years. The first story I talk about is in the very first chapter, where my phone gets taken out of my hand on a
Yeah,
train.
let's by the way, it's just as you gave an exaggerated example of something that happened in a cartoon. We need to kind of bring this home. So
Yeah.
how does getting your phone stolen out of your hand on a train make the news, even if you're blind? I mean, that's not newsworthy. How did that make the news?
Well, so what, I'll tell you the story. So what happened was I was going to see my friend Javon. We were going to work on some music. So I was taking the train to go see him, and I'm listening to my music on my phone, and the train stops, and I'm kind of not really paying attention. I'm just kind of zoned out listening to music. And the train stops, and the doors open, and someone just grabs the phone out of my hand and runs out. And so I'm from the Bay Area in California, and so it was in Oakland. And Oakland is not one of the greatest areas. There's parts of Oakland that are good, but there's parts of Oakland that are not. And so it was in the one of the areas that weren't that isn't good. And So obviously I didn't see, what happened. I just know that my phone is gone out of my hand, and I'm like shocked. And I'm standing there because at the time I was using ear pods, so the cord was dangling from me, and I was just like, wait, what just happened? And then I hear a young person say, "Oh, that's fucked up," you know, when that happened. And so I was like, "Oh." And so I immediately freak out, and someone's like, "Come on, let's get you off the train," like, because I didn't even know what to do. I'm like, "Oh, this never happened to me before." So get off the train and find uh, uh, the agent, and I told her what happened. Luckily, I knew her, and she knew me, so it was just instant breakdown mode. And I told her what happened, and um, she said, "Okay, well, we need to contact BART police." It was BART. That's the name of the train system that I was using. And so we went to the police, and I told them what happened, and the police said, "Well, can you give us a description?" And I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm blind." Like, I'm trying to make a joke, even though I don't feel like it's very funny. I'm not in a very funny mood. But sorry, I can't give a description. I'm blind. And they go, "Oh, okay. Well, we can try and find your phone with the Find My iPhone app. Um, but since you can't really give a description, I don't know." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sure somebody saw, like, what happened." Um, and so they found my phone. It was in San Francisco, but they said they weren't going to go. Basically, they couldn't really do much because they didn't have a description of the person. So that's kind of why it ended up being on the news, because um, a, a family member had called once he heard the story. He called and was like, "This is unacceptable from the police, the behavior." And so then the news organization reached out to me, and I did an interview with them, and they kind of focused on the lack of police interaction, and their response rather. And so then people were so outraged by this that a GoFundMe was created, and it raised about $4,000. And I was so grateful because I was using that money because I didn't even want to take the train at that time. I was like so like scared and just traumatized. It was a violating experience. And so I was using it for other transportation means. Um and I was so grateful. And then another news organization approached me and wanted to do another story, but this time focusing on the human side, the human response. The human beings reaching out and wanting to help. And so they did that, and that was a much more positive story. And I decided right then and there, if I'm ever going to be on TV again, I want it to be for something positive, for something good for our community. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to write the book, because I wanted, I didn't want, I was not going to be defined by this experience. I was not going to be a victim. I never, see him. I didn't see myself as a victim, or a vulnerable person. It was a scary, violating experience for sure, but I never viewed myself as a victim. So because I'm going through the moments. I had angry moments and sad moments, and then moments of like introspection, like like, hey, I wonder what this person went through, and why they felt like they had to take something from me to feel better, or so um and another thing that I forgot to mention, though, is they did end up finding the um not finding the person, but they had a video that was that came out where they saw who did it, and it was a minor. And so they basically said that they would see if they would, like, release the information to various organizations with, or, in the Bay Area, but they weren't going to release it publicly because he was a minor and they have to protect him. And so I said, well, I get it, but a crime was committed, so I get that you want to, protect him from being, because he's a minor, but he also committed a crime. And so we never found out who it was. I have called several times since, and tried to get them to tell me anything new, and they didn't. They decided it wasn't really worth working on. I never heard back. So, but that's okay, because like I said, it was a life lesson, and it taught me a lot, and it taught me that I'm gonna be more careful, and but also it taught me that there's a lot that the world still doesn't know about blind people. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons also why I wrote the book as
And
well.
did they ever find the phone in the end?
No, I got a
Yeah.
replacement phone. So
That's what I would have
he,
done. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
There's a whole network, by the way, a lot of the stolen phones. I saw a YouTube. It's a weird story. But I saw a YouTube video about this where a lot of times when people get their phone stolen in the United States, they think it's, just staying in the United States. A lot of the phones, apparently, according to this video, a lot of them end up in China, believe it or not. There's a whole like underground and like a lot of the China and other countries in around Southeast Asia that are like stealing people's phones and then like reselling them into their own country.
yeah, they'll like sell them for parts and stuff, and
No,
yeah, it's
funny story. I was watching something about it where there was this American guy. He got his phone stolen, and then all of a sudden he starts getting all these like weird, contacts in the Mandarin language. All these like people from China are texting him, and he doesn't know who they are. And then he figured out eventually, and this is actually kind of a sweet transition. He figured out that his phone was actually stolen from him somewhere. Oh, and there's a whole YouTube video about it. And the phone ended up in China. And some guy that lives out in the countryside in China, who obviously does not steal phones, went to his quote unquote phone store and thought that he was buying a phone and actually bought this guy's phone, but they didn't wipe the American guy's
oh
side of
my
the con,
god.
and it gets better. It gets better than that. This is really cool. So then the Chinese person starts noticing that there's a lot of American contacts on his phone. Where are all these people? And eventually and I think this is really cute. I think this is really cool. Eventually, since these two people had each other's numbers, eventually the American guy sent the guy an iMessage. Hey man, why are you on my phone? I don't know you. And then apparently on the other end in China, the guy responded, I don't know either. Why are you on my phone? What's going on here? This is bizarre. It really did happen this way. And then in the end, they ended up meeting up in China, and this American guy got this great trip to China and got to meet this nice Chinese guy that is just doing the best he can, living off the land, and now they're like best friends.
And now they're friends. Yeah, I
And now
love that.
it's so there's some really bizarre things that have happened when phones have gotten stolen like that. So,
Yeah.
not surprising. But most people do get, I mean, it's embarrassing and scary, but most people get one thing taken from them stolen one time in their life. I mean, it's
And
just,
that's
yeah,
true, but at the
yeah,
same time,
sure.
there's something to be said when it's taken out of your hand. Like
Absolutely.
you're using it,
Absolutely.
and you know what I mean? So
No, no,
it's,
no, not certainly didn't mean to devalue that, but
yeah, I got you.
but no, what I'm saying is what I meant was, hey, you don't feel embarrassed. It's not the first time that's happened.
Oh, sure.
Unfortunately, given the state of our country, it's not the last time a minor's going to do it to someone.
Yep.
Hopefully, they'll do it to someone. Hopefully, they'll stop doing it, or even more, hopefully, they'll do it to a sighted person who would attack them if they did it.
Right.
But then again, the way you handled it was fine. A lot of times, I mean, this minor probably wasn't very sophisticated, obviously, but some thieves do have guns and have knives and would attack you if you attack it. Sometimes you just have to give up your load and just run home with your tail between your legs and just buy a new one. So sometimes,
Yeah. Yep.
rather than ending up in the emergency room over a
Right.
phone.
And that's what the agent told me is,
Yeah.
the the phone is replaceable,
You
you're
need to
not.
survive.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
not,
that's true.
and the funny thing is, and I know this kind of does sound mean, but over a phone, I'd rather live than
Right.
have my hand chopped off in the process of trying to grab a phone. Fine, just let them
Right.
have it. Fine.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
if the phone's locked and they're just selling it for parts, I mean, you'll just reload your contacts again and just kind of start over. I mean,
Well,
it's totally fucked up. I mean,
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
it's fucked, but
Yeah.
you would just restart
Well,
and
and it
just,
was kind of scary because,
sure,
like I
sure.
said, I was using it so it wasn't locked when they took it because I was using it. And so, but
Yeah, but probably in the struggle when they took it so fast, they probably locked the screen while they were
well,
running
who
away
knows? I don't
who
know that.
knows? I don't
But,
know. It's
but
weird.
the thing
Yeah.
but as soon as I could, I locked it through Apple. And so,
Yeah.
it was okay.
Well,
But,
these
yeah.
things do happen. I mean, someone when I was in France, because I'm a French speaker, when I was in
Hmm.
France, someone tried to rob me in France,
Hmm.
and then I started yelling at them in French, and then I told them, "No, stop! You're a thief." And then for some reason they got offended by that. Don't call me a thief.
That's funny.
I'm just taking your shit, man. That's what we do.
Yeah, I'm not a thief.
That's our class, man. Don't go to our level of society, man. Like, there's some weird interactions with these people. But anyway, moving forward from that. So you buy a new phone, okay. And then in the end, you write this beautiful book. So you talk about these types of experiences. And then what are some other I mean, that's kind of a weird thing that happened, but what are some other philosophical things that you kind of unfold in the book? Because I think you clearly have a lot of philosophical power.
Yes, I do.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole book is
Hmm.
philosophical. It kind of helps people see beyond the surface. You know what I mean? So, um, but you know, I talk a lot about social issues
Hmm.
that we're dealing with, and I
Hmm.
talk about there's a chapter called the Q&As where I answer common questions that blind people get asked, and some not so common ones that blind
Ooh.
people get asked.
Ooh.
Um, and yeah, it's very entertaining because
I'm
people just
sure.
like people
What's
can't
the
believe that these
I
questions
gotta
are being
dig in.
asked.
I gotta dig in on you here. So everybody knows that the most common question blind people are asking. Yes, I know what it is. How do we wipe? That's the most common one. What's the most uncommon question that
Okay, so I'll tell you one that I put in the book that it still shocks me to this day. So
Mhm,
a friend of mine who is a DJ in South Africa,
mhm.
he was on a radio station doing his mixing DJ thing, and then they talk to him. They do a little interview with him, and someone actually called in. I believe so. I believe this is what happened, or something like that. They called in, or they asked the DJ doing the interview, or something like that. They said, "Um, if you're blind, do you cry?" And I'm like,
What?
"What?" like, wait, hang on, wait, hang on,
What?
stop. I'm like, wait a minute, because I'm listening to the
That's a
interview,
weird.
and
That's
I'm
a
like,
weird one.
I'm
That's a
like,
really
do
weird
you
one.
wait? Do you think that he can't cry
Mhm.
because it's your tear ducts, not your like sight that could
I guess
like
okay. Okay, let me break that one down. I think what the
I know.
person meant, what they might have meant is a couple things. It's actually a good question. I think what they meant was how can you cry if your eyes are damaged? damage from your blindness, because maybe they genuinely thought that the person's eyes were damaged so severely that the tears wouldn't come out, which that also sounds silly, but maybe that's what they really thought. I mean,
You
that
know
kind of
what?
is an
That's the
interesting
first
thing.
logical reason that question could. That's the first logical reason I've heard. So I'll give you that.
I mean, maybe, I mean, again, I wasn't there, but maybe they were
Yeah.
really here. Maybe they really wanted to know, because a lot of people ask me, and the other common one that we get asked all the time is, do we dream in color? Would you see in your
Yes.
dreams?
Or do we? Yeah. Or do we see in our dreams? Or do yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of these I answer in the book. So you said about the wiping thing. Believe it or not, someone actually, because I put it when I was writing the book and writing this chapter, I put a social media post out, and I said to the blind community, I'm like, okay, so what questions should I include here? Because this is a way to get this taken care of, And so one of the one of the people said, well, I actually had someone at work ask me, how do you know if your ass is clean? And
you should have responded, well, let me tell you, I have the cleanest ass in the business.
So, but it was
I
funny
have the
because
biggest ass. I have the biggest ass in the business. I am the biggest ass in the business. And my ass is the cleanest ass, and it's certainly, monsieur, cleaner than your ass.
Right. It was funny though, because one of my sighted friends responded and she was like, oh God, TMI, TMI. And he goes, no, not TMI. People think we can't dress ourselves. People think we can't feed ourselves and take our medicine and do what we go. Like they think all these things. And so everything has to be covered if we're going to do this. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, well, I agree.
I don't know. We don't need to know everything. I mean, do we really have to cover the sex? I mean, did you cover that one too? Because a lot of sighted people think
that's
that
another
blind.
question that was asked.
It's a pretty blunt answer, but you know what you can say? Look, honey, everybody can fuck. Okay.
Well, you know how I answered it. So I said, well, because the question was, do blind people have sex? And I'm like, oh, right. God. So my answer was, well, I hope that, first of all, I hope that you're touching more than you're looking anyway. But, but also, yeah. And because my friend, when my friend heard this, he's like, do we? Yeah, I probably do more than you do. But
and people are willing to share this, like in the comments, like telling about how they do it. I'm being way too I am being way too inappropriately graphic here, but let me just tell you, I really don't have a girlfriend, okay? And I've never had that experience yet, but let me just tell you that the way I do that in my bedroom, none of your damn business.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm not. You know what? I'm not getting.
Sight.
It really does. And but you know what? If anybody asks, you would say, well, it's really none of your damn business. But yes, but you can say it's none of your damn business. But trust me, the sex was monumental.
Because a lot of these questions is coming from they think that we're not capable. And see,
I'm not sure. See, Sammy, here's the thing. Here's the thing intellectually. Sometimes they're being discriminatory and just being a rude jackass for the sake of just being disrespectful. Other times they truly think that because the blindness is a physical lack of sight, they truly might and do think that the blindness might actually impact the person's ability to perform physical.
Right. That's my point.
Legally, to some extent, does blindness impact the way we do things from a physical perspective? Yes, it does a little bit. We just don't mind.
Right.
But when you look at it through a social lens, through a philosophical lens, yes, it does. Yes, it does. But it certainly doesn't stop people. You could say another appropriate answer would be, well, I don't know how it was in the bedroom, but here I think would be a very complimentary and a very supportive answer to give. You could say, I don't know how it went in the bedroom, but I do know this couple. Their name were Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're both blind, and they have two beautiful children who are doing great in school. You could turn it into something. You could turn it into a sweet answer about a blind family and show that blind people can have families. Because really, fundamentally, that's what they're asking. Can blind people actually have a future? Is what that's about.
Right.
That's what it's about. Nothing more, nothing less. Yes, it's rude. Of course, think about how rude it would be if we asked sighted people, "Hey, how was the sex last night?" Right? Okay. I'm not going to ask a sighted person that. I'm not.
As blind people just start asking them, well, if you can see, how do you do this, and how does this work?
That's true. That's true. That's true. You know what? You could, I mean, there's so many jokes behind it and so many humorous ways of dealing. And Sammy, I know that when you're writing the book or writing the question or responding, it's a lot harder. I totally get it, because it's a lot harder for you to see the humor. And let me tell you.
No, it's not. I can see the humor.
But let me tell you that a lot of things in my life, after I got out of university and graduated, there were some things that happened to me that really traumatized me. And I want you to know that even men can be traumatized by things.
Oh, of course.
And I've had some experience that I've had to overcome. And what I've had to do is I've had to find my voice as a podcaster and a YouTuber and a teacher and an educator. And I've had to accept that the only thing I can control is me. And the only thing I can do is my best. And the greatest competitor is Aaron's opinion. And the greatest enemy of Aaron's opinion is Aaron's opinion. And that's what you need to tell Sammy SweetSpirit. That no matter how silly these questions get, although some of them might actually be intellectual questions that they might really, at some level, really would want to know that it's wrong, but they genuinely might be curious,
Oh, of course. And that's why I included them, because the thing is, if they want to know, I'm here to help, so no question is stupid. As humorous as we try to make it sometimes, there's really no stupid questions. The fact that some people are asking them means that they want to know. So,
well, good.
Yeah.
Well, good. 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 But on to some other topics. So what are some other topics that you've covered in the book?
Let's see. Let me go through the chapters. So I talked about the phone, and then there's a chapter on socializing in a visual world, which covers just various things like how we socialize and dating and the cane and how it works. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of us know this, but sometimes when we're traveling somewhere, someone will grab the end of our cane like a dog leash and try and lead us somewhere. And it's like, that's kind of like if I were to cover your eyes and tell you to walk somewhere. So, just kind of, let's see. I talk about is seeing knowing. That's a chapter where
that's a good one.
Yeah, so people associate seeing with knowing because seeing is one of the most prominent ways to get information. Right. And so if you think about it, like, in songs, when we say, oh, how could I have been so blind? Which really means, how come I didn't know that you were going to cheat on me, or that you were, or whatever. And which really has nothing to do with sight at all. And also, like, out of sight, out of mind. Well, it can be taken literally or figuratively, but we really have to kind of pay attention to what we're saying, because it's and so and then the next chapter after that is talking about words and how some people get really weirded out when a blind person says, "Oh, I saw that movie last night." What you mean you heard it? No, I'm not going to change my vocabulary to make you feel better.
No, you don't. No, you don't change vocab. And there's this whole social thing going on in America right now with the changing the English language. I'm a bilingual guy. You know that I'm a French speaker. So all this debate. Now, I don't know how you are with French, or if you are a French speaker, but do you speak other languages, by the way?
No, I not fluently.
Point being, that if you grow up speaking multiple languages like I do, you get used to one language having these genders.
Yeah.
Okay. So the grammatical thing is that if you change the gender of a language over time and then it impacts the gender of a language that's already there, then the language doesn't work in certain ways.
Hmm.
And I don't quite want to, we don't need to dig down that rabbit hole, but it is very interesting. So then, Sammy, we're going to cover a couple other things, and then I'm gonna let you talk to. Sometimes, Denny, Denny, you can type in the chat. Denny, do you want me? Are you comfortable with me turning on your mic if you want? You don't have to. Denny, you can type it. But because you'll meet her in a few minutes anyway, when she joins the WhatsApp. But so then, okay, so then you have this, PR campaign. Well, I would like to end out today. I want you to tell a couple more sentences about the PR campaign
Sure.
itself, and
Sure.
then we'll kind of slow down the momentum, and then we'll talk about how people can get in touch and find your work. So go.
Sure. Okay, so the PR campaign. I
Mm-hmm.
have a PR firm based out of Los Angeles that is interested in getting the book out there and into the media. And so, of course, there's no guarantees, but they want to help. So they have
Mm-hmm.
connections with CBS This Morning and Good Morning America and People Magazine and the Tamron Hall Show and the Today Show, and so basically talk shows and magazines and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And so I had reached out to another PR person who then gave me their contact information, and they said, "Yeah, we're really interested." She read the book; she really liked it. She said, "This is a great. This is so needed right now in our for our world, and it's a great human interest piece that the talk shows would love. So I want to help you." And so I'm just trying to raise the funds so I can
Mm-hmm.
pay for it, pay for their help, and so if you go to my website, sammysweetspirit.com, there's a donate heading that you can click on, and where it'll take you to the GoFundMe page. And I kind of tell my story and why I'm doing this and all of that. And any help that anyone can give is so appreciated, even if it's $1. This is really to help, uh, you know, educate sighted people about the blind community, and it's so important. So I wanted to get this to as many people as I can, and this media push would definitely do that. And I want to, I really want to be a voice for our community, and so any help that you guys could give is so appreciated. And yeah, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and
Click, click
sorry,
the,
X.
click the, here, let's slow down here. And
Oh,
let me
okay.
just say, as we say in the business, click the link in the description right there. There you go. If you can ask me only one more question, Sammy SweetSpirit. And the question is this. Okay. If you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat, to really make me see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you want to know about Aaron Richmond and Aaron's opinion?
Uh, I don't know. What do I
After
want
okay,
to
after all this, affer everything your spirit has already been through, the only thing is I don't know.
know?
Okay, well then we have a problem. Okay, then we have a huge problem here. After all this, if you don't know what to ask me, I'm the media
Well,
guy.
I
This
mean,
is
this
not.
is the interview. You're interviewing me, sir.
I
So what do you
know.
want to ask me?
Well, I
Just
don't. How am
kidding.
I supposed to know that? You're the person that's supposed to come. You're the person that's supposed to come. See, I always love to
Yes,
turn
but
the
I'm the
table.
guest. I'm the guest of honor.
But the guest, the,
So
the guest should be
this is
always ready
not
to
the
tip
guest
the table
interviews
over. That's the
Aaron from
thing.
Aaron's opinion. This is
I've been
Aaron's
interviewed.
opinion interviewing the guest.
Well, here, okay, try again. So, what question do you want to ask me? Okay, think of something, please, please. Suspense is killing.
What question do I want to ask you? Um, how how far has your podcast reached?
Well, we've reached people on all four corners of the universe and galaxy. basically all the continents tune into Aaron's opinion. So
Wow.
know that from this moment forward, you are no longer an American person, you're a global person. And your music will be played in all sorts of countries from all over the world. And your story
Lovely.
will be all over the world.
Well, that's beautiful.
Well, there you go.
And I really appreciate you having me and talking to me, and it's been
I
fun.
really, quite frankly, I really appreciate you coming up to me, coming here and talking to me. When I came up to you, you could have said no because I'm a stranger on the internet, but I think these things are meant to be, and I think you understood what was going
Oh,
on.
sure. Of course, of
It's
course.
so nice. All right, everybody. Well, look, here's the thing. Let's see now. Okay. Oh my. Okay. Well, do you know how I end specifically? Do you know my phrase that I say at the end of an episode, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, go for it. Tell us, tell us, tell us.
I remember it's something like help one person today, help a million people tomorrow.
You got it. Absolutely. Absolutely right. All right, everybody. Comment below on YouTube. Go ahead and click the link. Check her out. Go over to her website if you really want to donate. But what I would say for sure is definitely read her book first. You know, take a look at the
Yeah,
book. Take a
for
look at the
sure.
book and really get the full effect. And we will talk later. I will send you a messenger message in a few moments here. I'm going to go do
Okay.
some stuff, but later tonight or maybe tomorrow, depending. Maybe it's either tonight or tomorrow. I'm losing track of the days faster than they go by. I think tomorrow is a Friday, I guess.
Yes,
I know
it
I can't
is.
really tell the difference. It's just sun keeps coming up each day, and I just say, "Oh, thank God." But
Well, it was really nice to meet you and nice to talk to you, and I really
tremendous pleasure to
appreciate.
meet. Well, but let me just warn you, you haven't lost me this easily. So you're now in the
Okay,
Aaron's Opinion family. So we'll be in touch in a few minutes, whether tonight
sounds
or
good.
tomorrow over on Messenger, and I'll tell you more information. And I do have a specific question that I'm going to ask over on Messenger. So until
Sure.
next time, everybody, though, she is Sammy SweetSpirit. Thanks so much for watching. Check her out. Go to the link and see what's going on. All right, everybody. Have a safe evening, a healthy evening, or morning or afternoon, and we'll be back. We will certainly be back very, very soon. Help one
Bye,
person today.
everyone.
Bye bye. Help one person today. Help 1 million people